Test, test, test. Can you guys hear me? Flip over to chat. Okay, folks, we'll be live in just a couple of moments. We're waiting on Jeff Evans and a couple of other people to show up, and then we'll get it underway. So I'm going to put my mic on mute for just a couple of moments. Are you there, Jeff?
I am here.
Okay, great, man. Give me just a couple of moments here and we'll fire it up. Do you have I meant to ask you, do you have a PowerPoint or presentation you want to walk through that will require us to change presenters?
I have a PowerPoint.
Completely up to you.
Yeah, it makes no difference to me. I have a PowerPoint. I think some people might be more comfortable looking at a screen that isn't just my face, but it's up to you. It makes no difference.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I just wanted to make sure it was whatever you were comfortable with. I'm completely fine. Let me remind the room at Black Hat that the webinar is live. And we'll get underway. All right. Let me screen share.
I have had no luck with Hangouts in the past. So tell me where I need to go to drop a link to this PDF.
Okay. I think we're going to have to figure that out. This is the first time we will have done that. Let me enable live chat. Okay, live chat, public chat. I don't know what your interface looks like, Jeff, but mine is, I use Webinar Fusion Pro, which is basically just a wrapper put around Google Hangouts. And
right.
So when you hover, excuse me, when you move your mouse, you should see a bar of different
on the left
functions.
side, right?
Yeah, one of those, the first one, which in my case is the first blue one, is chat. And you can probably drop the link in the chat window that you see when you select that. And then right below that is screen share, so that if you want, after you've dropped that link to pick up that PDF, you could switch over to your screen.
Okay. Yeah, I tried Webinar Jam, and I mean I still own it, but twice in a row. It was a disaster.
Really, this has worked out really well. I don't use it often enough to be a total pro with it, but it's been super stable, and for the most part, bandwidth has not been an issue. We've been really smooth with our recordings, so it's worked so far. So okay, I'm going to. Why don't you switch over to your presentation, and I'm going to put the screen, make sure the screen stays on you even while I sort of introduce this.
You got it.
Okay. I'll let you know when it pops up.
Now, when I'm full screen on this PowerPoint presentation, I don't see anything on the sides. So if somebody types something in the chat, I won't see it.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye out on questions for sure. I've got a pretty good interface for that. Okay, I don't see your screen yet, though. I just see you. Do you have the green button below the chat button? Maybe try that.
Well, yeah, that's what I hit.
Oh, weird.
Remember what I said about all of the tremendous luck I've had with?
You're going to break my webinar Fusion Pro, aren't you?
I hope not. I hope not. I don't know why it's, is there something else I have to do for you to be able to see the application that I'm using?
When I hit the green button with the arrow, what happens for me is a box pops up and it's basically a recap of
which thing I want to show.
Yep. That's exactly what happens.
Well, yeah, so I actually do have that box, and maybe I jumped the gun and just went directly to my presentation. So let me see if I can find what application. Interesting. I don't see the application showing up as one of the choices.
Okay.
How's that for something different?
That's just wonderful. Is it something you could shoot over to me and I could put on my screen while you talk over it? I'm willing if you want.
Might be a little bit tough in terms of timing. I'm trying to figure out why I don't see this. It's in my bars of open applications, right?
Yes.
But it's not in this choice of things to bring up.
Oh, you have a choice. You see some choices?
Yeah.
What is it a PowerPoint?
It's an open office PowerPoint.
Okay. That's just an application. I can't imagine that it would make any real difference.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, but okay, let's see. I'm going to try this full screen and see if that allows me to bring the application in.
Okay.
All right. Do you see me share on the full screen now?
Let me go back to the Hangout page. Yeah, I see.
You see a picture of you?
I see a picture of me, and then off to the side, to the left, I see. Yeah, there you go.
All right.
It just popped up. We're good. Strange, right?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
let's cue this. I'm going to start this thing up so that and introduce you so that we can get going. Everybody, welcome to the Black Hat Community Premium Webinar. This is the, what day are we? 4/27, April 27th already. Today's guest is Jeffrey Evans, who has done a bunch of things that have to do with the automation of SEO. And so I wanted to talk to him about these concepts in general. I know that in the Black Hat Community Skype room, we read a lot about tiering and how we make that happen most effectively. And certainly automation unlocks a ton of productivity for those of us who've got just gobs and gobs and gobs of money sites and PBNs and, you know, everything. It seems to, there's basically a crush of websites. So the more we can do to automate the process of especially working with the tiers above, the better. And so I encountered Jeff because of a friend introduced me to him when I first bought Syndwire. And what was interesting to me was that he coded Syndwire Buddy, which a number of you have heard about. And Syndwire Buddy's emerging claim to fame, of course, is that it can create the accounts you need for Syndwire, but also upload those accounts so that you don't have to go through the incredibly tedious task of either. And I've got a couple of virtual assistants who have been working with it. They've moved on to some other projects over the last 2 or 3 weeks that, well, it was just time for those things to get tackled. But while we were using Syndwire Buddy, we had a fair amount of luck. and they certainly enjoyed it more than doing it manually. So what Jeff's going to do today is talk, I'm sure he'll give us more details about Syndwire Buddy and what the status is, because I know he tests that and tweaks it regularly. But he's also, more importantly, I think, he's got a lot of insight about how these automation tools can change our lives, and his presentation is going to be structured around teaching you about those kinds of things. So Jeff, I went on enough. Finish the intro by telling us more about yourself, and then by all means launch into your presentation with, you can have confidence that I'm keeping an eye out for any questions, and I will gently nudge you if something needs to be dealt with in the middle, and if not, we'll take them at the end.
All right, thank you much, Doc. This all came about because I sat down one day and I was on a rant about automation tools, where people come along and they say, you know, this tool doesn't work or that tool doesn't work, and it's almost never the tool. There are some very specific exceptions, but it's the implementation of how the tool is used. So when somebody says SE Nuke doesn't work, they're right from the standpoint of, if you bought SE Nuke back in 2008, and that's when I first started using it, you could turn around and you could blast your website with garbage, and somewhere between 10 and 30 days, you would rank a money keyword and actually start making money off of this. And today you can't blast it with crap. You can't blast it with garbage links, with garbage content, and expect to get a result out of it. And this is true of every automation tool that's out there. So how I teach. You don't need to be an engineer, but you need to understand beyond memorization. Okay, so there are 5 levels of learning, and I'm going to give you a quick 3 of them. The lowest level is memorization, the middle level is understanding, and the top level is correlation. And correlation means you can take what I give you and you can apply it in other circumstances. But if you don't at least reach the level of understanding, then you're not going to be able to adjust as time goes on. While I'm here, I hear all the time people talk about Google changing the rules, right? Well, I've been online in business since 1997, all right? And in 97, Google wasn't a factor. The top search engine at the time was probably Excite.
Yep.
And you could do all sorts of things to rank, and I was involved with the business at the time where we held for our big keywords 7 out of 10 of the positions on page 1. And it really wasn't that difficult. When Google laid down what their rules were way back when, they've always said the same thing. Don't concentrate on the search engines, concentrate on your content, don't build bogus backlinks to your own site, etc., etc. And what's happened over time, in my observation, is that they've just gotten better at enforcing their rules. Okay? That's what Penguin was about. They turned around and they said, hey, if we see somebody and 90% of their backlinks are make money fast, that's not very natural. That's probably not other people linking the site for them. Okay. Sorry, there's nothing for sale. All right. I will be offering a giveaway at the end for those who are interested. Just as a reward for those who happen to be here. All right, there are 8 terms that you need to know and wrap your head around. The first one is domain authority. This is on a scale of 1 to 100. There are 40 plus factors. The power of the domain authority is extended over the entire site. Now, in the chat box, I had put a link to the PDF I wrote called Automation Tools. And everything I'm going to tell you, or 90% of everything I'm going to tell you, can be found in that PDF.
And Jeff, I will make sure that when the Hangout goes live too, that in the description, I'll drop that link again as well. I've had a chance to read it. It's excellent. So for those people who are either watching us live now or will see this when it gets up on YouTube, make every opportunity to download that and read it, because it's anything but dry. It's super fascinating.
It's kind of funny because when I got on this rant about automation tools, I says, well, if you know this, then you need to know this, and you need to know this, and that's how there's, it became 17 pages of what I think is very solid content, and then there's about another 16 or 17 pages where I have retrieved, I don't know what it is, several hundred Web 2.0 properties and got the domain authority information for you.
Yep.
All right. So here's page authority is on a scale of 1 to 100. There are multiple factors, but it's isolated to the page, and it starts with a 1. And you'll hear this again later on, but like when you put up a YouTube video, YouTube itself has a domain authority of 100, but your video, when you first put it up, has a page authority of 1. And on your websites, your individual page authorities do contribute to overall domain authority. PageRank is the link juice on a logarithmic scale from 0 to 10, right? So a 2 is worth 10 times what a 1 is. A 3 is worth 10 times what a 2 is, and that's why it takes so hard to move. Now, there are a lot of discussions where Google comes out and says, we're not going to update PageRank anymore, right? But PageRank really is one of those factors that contributes to authority. So whether Google updates it in terms of what they display to you or not, this is the basis for Google's algorithm. It has been since the beginning. This was the thing they had that nobody else did.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because one of the biggest things I know you see this, and it must drive you crazy too. I see it among people who consider themselves pretty polished SEOs. They think that because Google is no longer reporting to us PageRank, that PageRank has ceased to exist, and that the important things are measured by Moz and Majestic now, folks, and it could not be further from the truth. PageRank is alive and well somewhere within the bowels of Google, and they're completely using it to determine how much juice you're passing with your websites. They're just not telling you where you come out on that scale.
Well, and since we're on that topic, there's a couple of other observations I'd like to make that will just show you why Google would do that.
Okay.
Going back to, I own an outsourcing firm, and going back to 2008 to 2011, we put up thousands of sites using the same build process. It was based on something at the time called Google Conquest, right?
Okay.
And there was no great magic to it. It was exact match domains. It was proper on-page optimization and original content on the first page. And the relevant part of it is that 71% of the time we were ranking on page 1 without any backlinks whatsoever. All right. And what I always wondered is, what was wrong with the other 29%? Okay. What was it about the other 29% that Google didn't like? Because logically, there wasn't any difference. All right. And the conclusion I've come to, and I've even seen this with YouTube videos now, and we'll round the figures for you. The actual figures for YouTube is we're finding 28% of the time Google doesn't rank a video that you put up when it normally would. All right. And that was the same true of these websites. So in round figures, 30%, Google spins the roulette wheel and says, this site isn't going to get any favoritism, at least not anytime soon. Now, why would they do that? Because if it was entirely predictable, you and I could, in very short order, completely reverse engineer their algorithm. All right. Mm-hmm. And so for a little bit of proof for what I'm telling you in terms of how we've tested this, is we put up a series of videos and had, let's say, 5 out of 7 rank, okay? Then the 2 don't even show up in the main index, and we'll talk about main and supplemental index here shortly, but 2 of them don't even show up. We turn around, we pull them down. 2 days later, we put one of them up with everything exactly the same, and it ranks.
Wow.
All right. So now I was talking to somebody the other day, and a concept came to me that I haven't, there isn't enough. You know, you really need about 25 tests of anything to say something is significant in SEO, right? But it's anecdotal, and it's kind of interesting. This woman knows very little, and she put up a video with what I would consider inadequate content, basically no content, and her video ranked. Now, I don't believe that it's anywhere near the 30 percentile mark, but I believe that there is a percentage of stuff that Google shows favoritism to, once again, right off of the roulette wheel, for no good reason whatsoever. Maybe it deserves it, maybe it doesn't. All right? All to keep us from being able to nail down their algorithm. You follow?
Yep, absolutely.
All righty. Next term, theme. What does Google believe the topic is about? The words on the page. And in just a little bit, we'll be talking about keyword DNA and how we determine it. But theme becomes important almost over everything else. If you get the theming of your page right, you're going to make everything else immensely simpler for yourself.
Okay.
2 kinds of spam: link spam and content spam. A link spam is getting links from anything that is not relevant to you. All right. Content spam is coming up with something that is not read-worthy. Right. Trust factor. There was in this PDF, you'll see a reference to a study done by Stanford, and it goes all the way back to 1994, and it's basically what trust factor is based on. Is they were looking for ways to help the search engines identify spam, and the further away you get from the authority, the lower the trust factor is going to be. Now, when we do domain authority stacking and we do it with relevant content, what we're doing is we're building our domain authority. All right. Yep. And as an authority, you'll get that trust factor. Footprints. Diversity is a good thing. One of the things that I did in this PDF is I specifically did not tell you to check this box or push that button. And the reason being is because if we all go checking the same box and we all go pushing the same button, then we create this huge footprint.
Flip the boat over, yep.
All right. Private blog networks. The myth and the reality. I have a client who is in a market nobody has ever heard of called payday loans. All right. And that client makes literally $8,000 a day. And he does it with a private blog network. But very few people actually use private blog networks. And here's what I mean by that. A private blog network is a blog network you have that your wife doesn't know about. Your spouse doesn't know about. You didn't give a free link to your buddy. It truly is private. It's yours. When you go on to one of these paid private blog networks, which really means it's a public blog network, right? Mm-hmm. When you go on to one of these, you are joining a band of people who also do this. Now, if we go back to 2008, there used to be this website. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a great site. You could call up this site and you put in a URL and it used Yahoo data and it showed you all the sites that were linking to that website. And it showed all the sites that were linking to them, and you could just drill right down on it. Really nifty. For people who think that Google cannot easily identify when this is happening, when this public blog network is being used, let me ask you a question. Do you really believe that in 2015, Google has less technology available than Yahoo had in 2008?
Yeah, good point.
Domain authority stacking simplified. All right, so there's a lot of discussion about domain authority stacking and how it's done and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. I have a very simplified process, and this is one of the reasons that I like Syndwire so much. This is my own nomenclature, so, you know, well, what does he just make this up as he goes along? Yes, I make this nomenclature up as I go along. I call it the A sites, the B sites, and the money sites, all right? A sites are any site that you can post an article of 500 words or more to. Money sites, we know what those are, and the B sites are everything else. So your Twitters, your Daigo, your Delicious, your bookmarking sites, those are all the B sites. Now, if you've got a pen out and you're taking notes, you want to write this down. A sites link to A sites and the money site. A sites link to other A sites and the money sites. B sites link to A sites and the money site. A's never link to B's. And B's don't link to each other.
Okay.
So let's put this in practical standpoint. Now let's say I've gone to the trouble of all of these A sites. These are all sites that have the ability to take a blog post. And so I have all of these A sites, and I'm trying to build domain authority, and I'm doing that with proper content. And then I go between two of those A's and I put a B site. I just ruined my theme. Or I shouldn't say I ruined it, I just cut it off. I established the theme with those A sites. So tell me, why would you ever take an article and point it to a bookmark? And why would you ever bookmark a bookmark? A's point to A's and A's point to the money site. B's point to A's and to the money site, but B's do not point to B's, and B's never come between A's or between A's and the money site. Simple enough?
The last part threw me a little bit. The B's never become between A's and the money site. So you mean that A's don't link to B's and the B's to the money site?
Right. A's never link to a B.
Right.
All right. Now,
Gotcha.
Why Syndwire simplifies this is because the blog posts are the A sites, and everything else Syndwire has is the B sites. So it's very easy for you to lay out what you're going to do with your network diagram.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I turn around and I draw a series of circles like this, and I throw my arrows around, right? And I say, okay, here's what I'm going to do now. And I'm not saying use this diagram, do your own. But now I can turn around and take all of my A sites and just plug which one, be it LiveJournal or Tumblr or WordPress, into those different circles.
Right.
Okay, so I see I'm a little bit ahead of my slides. Yep. Okay, so let's talk about mini networks. Now we can put up mini networks even for it because it's so simple and because it's so automated. We can put it up even for individual posts. We can create mini networks for individual posts. And what I want to say about that is it's better to do a little with a lot versus a lot with a little, right? It's better to create a lot of properties that have a little bit of content than a few properties that have a ton of content. And when I say a little bit of content, I'm talking about you know, anywhere from 2 to 10 posts, right? But there isn't a lot of point in taking a blogger site and putting 300 articles on it to point to a single article. Got it?
Got it.
Okay. All right. Which Web 2.0s? Well, for A's, we use domain authority 60 and above. The higher, the better, but remember diversity. All right. And that's why I gave you in the back part of that PDF the domain authority listing of all of those Web 2.0s.
Right.
All right. Good content. Good content is read-worthy and contains the right keyword DNA. Now, some people will tell you that, you know, videos are getting harder to rank for, and compared to the past, yes, they are. But with the right content, they're very easy. Now, I'm working on a tool right now. I'm working on a tool to promote videos, and I have a coaching student out there that he and I are working together on something. I've got him on a 90-day program, and he's doing lead gen videos in for local businesses. And the program is he has to launch every day at least one video with the right content. Now, my tool for promoting these is not quite ready. I could do it with Syndwire, but there's something else that I'm going to test that's just another way of doing Web 2.0s using IFTTT. And it's not ready yet, but I will tell you that just by having the right content, we are getting a lot of rankings, including #1 and #2s right out of the gate, all right, by having the right keyword DNA. Now, I use a tool called Web Content Studio to do that. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
But basically what it does is it goes and it analyzes the content for all of the sites on page 1, the page that's ranking. And then you go through and there's a filtration process and you identify. What I do is I identify, you know, I start off and I'll say, what words appear on 7 out of the top 10 pages? And if I don't have enough terms, I'll drop it down to 6 and then to 5. And then I'll go through those terms and I will pick out the ones that are industry specific. Now, an interesting thing has happened that I don't hear anybody talking about. The main index of Google is shrinking on a keyword basis. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
The main index of Google is shrinking on a keyword basis. What do I mean by that? All right. When you do a search on Google, frequently, I shouldn't even use the word frequently, you will occasionally come across omitted results. You get something that says, we've shown you X number of results that are most relevant, right?
Yep.
So the way you can see this for yourself is if you go to Google and you go to your settings, turn instant off in your search settings, and set yourself up for 100 results per page and put in any term. And if you were to do this, in 2013, here's what would have happened. If you put in the term internet marketing, it would have come along and it would have had a very high number, close to 1,000. It would have said, we're showing you 997 results. And this is the way the most competitive markets were. You almost never saw anything go over 1,000. I've never seen anything over, say, 1,003. Well, wait a minute. These terms have like 33 million results. Where are the rest of them? The rest of the results are sitting off in the supplemental index. Now, using Web Content Studio, what I found back starting in 2009 is that if you looked at the results of 1 through 10 and you boiled down a list of, say, 35 words, what I found is that on 1 through 10, the pages would typically contain 85% of those 35 words, all right?
Okay.
85% of those 35 words. When you drop down to 100 through 500, I saw that number drop to about 65%. Now, that's not a big difference. You're talking about 20% of 35 words. Okay, so we're talking about a 6-word difference. And that was very useful for demonstrating the point. Well, Dr. Andy, the guy who created Web Content Studio, this past October, he ran that test, and this was the second year for him doing it. And this year, the results changed significantly. He ran 1 through 10, 100 through 109, 200 through 209, and 300 through 309 for one of his keywords.
Okay.
And what he found was that the difference between the top 10 and those in the other group was, instead of a 20% difference, it was only about a 3% difference.
3%.
3%. So what does that mean? Google is only allowing, as a rule, those sites that meet their keyword DNA to even be in the main index. Huh. All right, so I said, well, if that's the case, then the main index had to shrink. So then I went and I took a look at some other terms, right? I looked at internet marketing again. Instead of being at almost 1,000, internet marketing is down to about 560.
Wow, on the main index.
In the main index,
yeah.
Correct. Okay. Instead of having almost 1,000 in the main index, they're only showing 560. And you can look at the biggest terms like sex, all right, and you'll see that, you know, those numbers are very small compared to what they used to be. The main index has shrunk. So if you don't get your keyword DNA right, you're making everything else much more difficult for yourself. Now, I've heard people spouting off as recently as a month ago who say, well, when you put up a video, all you need to do is to put about 4 lines of content in the description and put the keyword in each line. Let's pretend for a moment that my BS detector didn't go off. All right. If you were getting away with that today or a month ago, it isn't going to last, because Google's primary goal is to show relevancy. This is how they make their money, is by getting the most relevant results up there. All right. If they weren't providing the most relevant results, if we could find what we were looking for easier by searching in Yahoo, Bing, whatever, we'd be using it.
It's true.
This is their competitive advantage, and they are going to protect it. And of course, whatever they learn, this is something else I see. You have these tools out. You have these tools out like crowdsearch.me, right?
Okay.
And I've heard mixed reviews on it. I've used it. It's not the only thing we're doing, so I can't say whether it's responsible for the success, but I'm absolutely convinced there are ways to use that tool wrong. Okay? I'm absolutely convinced that the idea of putting your keyword and then your URL, or your URL and then your keyword in their automated search facility is a bad idea. I think it's just too obvious. And I think it's also a bad idea to take something that's sitting on page 6 that on page 1 might get 10 searches a month and have 2 people every day clicking on your link, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, YouTube has been dealing with this a lot longer than we think of Google is working with it. If you look at YouTube, a lot of times on the videos, you'll see the number of views has been capped. It says 300 plus, because YouTube wants to go in and validate those views before they turn around and show any more than that. Now, I'm not a big fan of trying to rank something inside of YouTube. If I can't, when I say we rank on the first page, a lot of the time, it's ranking YouTube videos on the first page of Google.
Right.
All right. So, content relevancy. Okay. Here's some of those. Here's a theoretical guess of mine. All right. And this will explain why some of you are using GSA. And if you take GSA and you take garbage links and you plaster something, there was a time when it used to do something, right? That's not the case today. I have taken GSA and sent 22,000 links to a video and didn't move it. All right?
Okay.
I think the reason being, and this is also the reason that I think siloing works so well, is because of the content relevancy of the link. I think that if your content isn't relevant, you're getting something less than 10% of the value of that link. And
So
if your content is highly relevant, you're getting much closer to 100% of the value of that link. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to recap in to make sure I'm getting an accurate understanding of what you're saying. So you're saying that the originator of the link must have content that's clustered around the keyword set that Google would find at the destination of the link, and the cleaner that connection is, the less interference there is along the line of the link.
I would agree with, yeah, you said that very well.
Okay.
All right. And I put these numbers up here, and I say they're a theoretical guess, but how many times have you heard that with a silo site structure, you can rank with 90% less links? And this would be an easy explanation as to understand why that would be. And when you're in the confines of a website, unless the site is just all over the board, two things happen. Number one, your content is going to be highly relevant to begin with. But I also think it's much easier for Google to believe it's highly relevant internal to the site.
Right.
Okay. How to get the right DNA, that's what we were talking about with Web Content Studio. All right. Now we can skip the future webinar topics. There is a tool, a free tool out there that I discovered during the last month. I'm working on another automation tool, and this has just helped me out a lot. I say it's free. They will let you have it for free for personal use. Have you ever, Doc, have you ever run into Phrase Express?
Phrase Express?
Yes.
No, I've not. I don't recall it actually.
Okay, well, this is very cool, and I'll just give you a quick little demonstration here. What Phrase Express does is it allows you to program any phrase into your function keys or any key on your keyboard if you like, right?
Okay.
But here's how I use it, because I'm doing a lot with account creators, right? So I come over here and I put my user password into Control F6, my username into Control F5, my last name into F8, my first name into F7, user email into F4, and it doesn't matter what application I'm working with. So if I'm programming or I'm testing something, and let's say I want to put I'll just call up a blank document here. Let's say that I want to put my email that I'm working with. I just hit Control F4 and there it is. My username, my password, okay? So if you don't want to spend money on automation tools to do things, like as an example with IFTTT, if you're loading your accounts in, you end up signing into every one of those accounts. And my current work is on uploading 25 different tools up there. All right. So if you had to do that manually and you don't want to buy a tool to do it, this is a nice replacement that you can get for nothing.
Interesting.
And how you use it is limited only by your imagination, because you can I guess program your keys for anything you could possibly dream of. I would say that, you know, where it just dawned on me, you know where this would be really useful? For those people who are building citations.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I use I have a, I'm looking at it right now. It's a Logitech G510S keyboard, and it has 18 hot buttons times 3. There are 54 opportunities to do exactly what you just showed us with Phrase Express, and I've used it with everything from citations to you doing backup buddy restores for baselines for PBNs and that kind of stuff. It's incredibly useful to automate it that way.
And if you happen to own that keyboard, that's a great solution. This is as I look here, it looks like you can key off of anything. You can key off of the window key if you wanted to.
It's pretty neat. Yeah.
Any key on the keyboard.
And this is a free solution unless you go professional. Is that what I saw?
Yeah, yeah, and it's and I say unless you supposedly use it professionally, as long as you're using it personally to not make money with. So it's not like you're getting a crippled version.
Got it.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I find mine really helpful. It's great for there are certain plugins that even when I put them in a baseline install with Backup Buddy, they've still got to be licensed and activated again whenever the site is restored. And so for remembering things like, it could be as mundane as my spin rewriter API code or license, or my API code, I think is what it is, a Kismet,
Right.
just tons of things. I've even got a couple of them that populate AdSense boxes. It's text from AdSense. It's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, yeah. I was typing this stuff over and over again, and
Yes.
I went searching around and found this, and had I not found this, I probably would have gone out and bought that keyboard. But I try to be a little cheap sometimes,
Well, but Jeff, this has got a huge application for those of us who also have laptops. I mean, I don't have I can't just tote the Logitech keyboard all over the house. For one thing, it's wired, so you pull a program like Phrase Express for a laptop, and you're all set.
Right. You're right in that I am constantly tweaking Syndwire Buddy. I was doing some programming earlier, and I found some changes in accounts, and I found some things about some types of accounts where they're actually they seem to have multiple profiles. Okay, and so when you go in, you may get one profile in the morning, and an hour later get a different profile, and 2-3 hours later get the original profile you started with. And an example I'll use is Sonico, which now Syndwire has dropped. But Sonico had a display that had 2 buttons, one for male, one for female, right? Yeah. And so you would go through and you would pick one of those, fine. But you could come in on the same day signing up for another account, and they would have a drop-down list, and one of them said, I am a man, and the other one said, I am a woman. Yeah. And so it gets tricky. It gets tricky in the account creator side, because you have to do 2 things. You have to account for all the possibilities you know of, right? But you also have to do your development and your testing while they're feeding you that particular profile.
Yes. Is that what you think that was one of the reasons why Syndwire would drop it, because they knew that people like yourself were out there trying to do automated versions of it and it was too tough?
I don't, well, okay. Syndwire has dropped a number of properties, right? Sure. As an example, they dropped Facebook.
Famously, yes.
Yeah, and they use this. They talk about this. I think it's a poor excuse. I'm just going to say it outright. That they didn't want their people to have legal problems, blah blah blah. And of course, there's the famous story about the guy who, he had 5,000 members to his group, and they canceled his account, and he ended up going to court and all this stuff, and $100,000 later, and he has it back because that was his livelihood, right?
Right.
But there's always going to be those extreme stories in whatever you do, all right? And I would never put a Facebook account or any account that I truly cared about into an automation scenario, right? We don't truly market that way. If I want to communicate with you, I'm not going to blast you with all of these spun messages, right? So I don't think I think that their problem is that they have one programmer. This is my impression. I don't know this to be a fact, but the actions of them support it. I think they have one programmer that works on Syndwire. I don't know what else he works on. And I can tell you, just from an account maintenance standpoint, it is a continuous fight to stay on top of what it is they're doing.
Oh,
right?
yeah, no doubt. No doubt in my mind.
And so if you log into Syndwire today, you'll probably see a message at the top listing, 3 accounts that they're having difficulty with. And I suppose they've started listing the accounts so that we don't keep sending them support tickets about
Right,
them.
absolutely.
All right. But it is something to stay on top of. And it also explains to me why Joe Troyer said, somebody who asked him, that they have no intentions of coming out with their own account creator.
Because they don't want to make the commitment to someone to
right.
spend time keeping up with all these changes.
Right. Now, for those of your folks who took advantage of that special that we've had for them for the last months,
right?
I have some good news, and that is, and not everybody makes the Facebook group, and I'm not sure why. So I'll go ahead and tell you, we're doing a mass account creator called Buddy Enterprise. Not for sale at this point, but we are going to open it up sometime after the beginning of May to the people who already have Syndwire. And, we'll do a $50 upgrade. But basically what it does is it creates all the accounts for IFTTT, all right, and some other products that are out there. And it will upload those accounts into IFTTT. It will create for you the recipes for all of the RSS stuff. So if you don't know the difference, if you're going to take a blog post and put it through IFTTT from your WordPress blog, that's going to happen via RSS, right? And we have figured out a way to program that in with you just providing us with your RSS feed. Okay.
Got it.
So we will automatically create the recipes for all of those accounts to that RSS feed. On the other side, where you're operating off of standard IFTTT stuff like YouTube, famous example, is where you upload a video to YouTube and then you fire off a chain of reactions that brings you back 19 backlinks from that one video in that one network, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what we're doing there is you can have those recipes be public. And if you have a public recipe, all you have to do is, while you're signed in, basically is visit the site and say, activate this recipe, right? Visit the URL and activate this recipe. Well, what we're doing is we've already got recipes for creating networks around lots of different things like that, like YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion. But on top of that, you'll be able to just take a list of those URLs, load them in, and it will cycle through and automatically add all of those pieces in.
Very nice.
Yeah. There's nothing out there. There's nothing out there remotely like it. Somebody did come out with an IFTTT product a while back.
Yeah, is that the Tony Hayes thing?
Yeah, and he had a nice account creator, although there's 3 of those accounts that seem to be always failing.
Yep. I can vouch for that.
It was very limited on 2 fronts. First off, the number of accounts that it worked with. And no, I don't mean to offend him. I'm just, from a practical standpoint, the number of accounts that it worked with was very limited, and it didn't leave you in a position to add in your own recipes.
That's true.
You got his recipes and that's it. Well, the problem with that is that you end up with this huge footprint once again. So we've done this in such a way, and we will also have a deal that says, okay, let's say there's an RSS recipe you want that we're not currently doing. We're going to turn around and we're going to add that recipe for you for $10 and make it available to everybody. So you can imagine over time the amount of diversity and the amount of options you would have in terms of picking out what you want to go out and promote with.
Yeah, how will that happen? Will there be sort of a central repository that automatically refreshes?
No, what'll happen is we'll actually add it into the, because when it goes out via RSS, it has to be programmed in, right? It's got to be part of the program because you can't use a public recipe. You would have to go in and manually edit the RSS feed address.
I gotcha.
All right. So what we're doing is very much like Syndwire Buddy now has a place where you can choose what accounts you want to do, right? Mm-hmm. We'll have the same interface that says, what recipes would you like to implement?
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it because if you follow Bradley Benner's stuff with semantic mastery.
Yeah, and I do. I have really become quite fond of, and he does about 30 webinars a week, it seems like, but the IFTT ones in particular are outstanding.
Okay, so have you seen the graphic of the network, the board of networks? So yes. he's got his tier 1 and he's got 3 tier 2s, right?
Yep.
All right. Imagine being able, without some of the personalization stuff, the Gravatar and that type of deal, right? Mm-hmm. But in terms of creating the accounts, uploading them, and getting the recipes in. Now he charges, if you want him to do it, he charges $175 to create those 4 networks. And if you only want a single network, it's $55.
Right.
Okay. Imagine being able to launch those 4 networks in probably about 90 minutes.
Yeah, he and I had a private message conversation one time about just that, and what would really be neat. I don't know that you could do it. Well, I know you could do it. I don't know that you would choose to do it, but you alluded a moment ago to the fact that it can't do everything. I mean, there's Gravatars, there's certain things. If it would also kick out a list that's VA friendly of what else they have to do to tie up all the loose ends, it would really be helpful.
That would be good. We are going a step further in some other directions. Like when you look at his network, and he describes it as, I think he's pulling 14 links back, but we've added a bunch of other properties.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's say it's 15 links, and he describes it. Okay, here's your 15 links that you're getting from your tier 1, and then you're getting 15 links from each of these 3 tier 2s, right?
Right.
Well, you can turn around. You can take the same content and picture this, if you will. All right. Say you're using the HydraVid 2.0. and you upload your video one time, and HydraVid turns around and sends it to YouTube, to Dailymotion, and to Vimeo. It does some other sites, but Dailymotion and Vimeo are there in IFTTT. So now, instead of only having your video being syndicated from YouTube out to that whole YouTube scenario, which would be your 60 links, if you follow my meaning,
yes,
right? Now you can get another 60 off of a Vimeo and another 60 off of a Dailymotion network.
Correct, right.
All from that one upload.
So you would have 60 accounts set up for each of those
Yes.
each of those
Yes.
pushes.
You end up with 60 times 3 in terms of total numbers of accounts being created.
Oh, Greg just sent a, Greg, you should have made that public. I'm not sure if I can. One of the guys watching the webinar has dropped a link for a Mac alternative to Phrase Express. Let me see if I can put it in the main.
That was one of the things that was the only question that Joe Troyer asked me. He said,
Which,
are you going to come out with a Mac version of Syndwire Buddy?
did he really ask that?
He really did ask that in an email. He asked that question.
And we know what Joe uses.
His entire office is Mac. When I did a demonstration for his affiliate manager, yeah. I was going to TeamViewer into them to do it. It didn't occur to me that they didn't have a single PC in the place.
Yeah. I've watched him on webinars, and I always notice him using a Mac. So I would have figured that would probably be the way it was set up. He's, Syndwire is an amazing thing. I noticed, we were talking in Black Hat community maybe a week ago. He was, because it was, I think around the beginning of last weekend, maybe he was making the rounds. The guy's he just does nonstop webinars anyway, but he was again promoting Syndwire, and this time I think the upfront lifetime cost was like $2,000. So it's gone nuts just over the last little bit of time. But for those of you who are in the Black Hat community, I shouldn't probably say it because Troyer may hear this and shut it down. There are still a couple of backdoor links back to the $299 deal that they haven't closed out yet. So if you're a member of the premium Skype room and you're interested in Syndwire, not Jeff's product, Syndwire Buddy, we can help you out there too. But Syndwire is the big daddy. That is still available, at least as of a couple days ago, still available at $299 if you know how to find it. And the link is available certainly in our premium Skype room until they shut it down. Then, of course, there's nothing we can do about it. But it's a lot better than paying $2,000.
Okay. Now I promised you a freebie, and here's what I'm going to give you. This is a video that shows you how this tool works. Now, some of you are out there paying for crowd search, and what this does is it basically takes list of IPs in your URL, and you can set it up to come from these different IPs and go visit whatever web property you want and tell it how long to stay there.
Oh, nice. Can it surf around or just hang out?
It just hangs out.
Okay. Wow, if I could make it surf around, that would be great.
Yeah, that would be a complete replacement for crowd search, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay.
All right, I'll have to compile that too. I'll make sure that one goes in the description for the webinar also.
All right, and would you put my Skype in there, because the folks who want it are going to have to contact me, and I will do this for, say, the next week.
Okay.
Whenever I give something away, right, I have to go in and manually license it, because I don't put open copies of stuff out there for kind of obvious reasons. It'll end up on the get stuff free sites.
Yep.
And so they'll have to send me a message on Skype, and
I'll do that. I'll tell you what, when we get off the webinar here, I will share the information in the Black Hat Skype group again for your contact, and then they can talk to you about Syndwire Buddy or the freebie, or just really anything that they want to follow up with about the hangout today.
Okay. And do you have any questions out there?
Yeah, for whatever reason, questions are not formatting great, but with Syndwire Buddy, what is Jeffrey recommending to use for emails?
Outlook. Outlook.
You got that,
And
Clint?
let me give you some settings just to make things easy for you.
Okay, yeah, that would help.
Right. And by the way, this is one of those things that's in my phrase express.
Yeah.
The server is pop-mail.outlook.com.
Got
The
it.
port is 995 and choose pop SSL.
Pop SSL.
Now, it is going to be even more important when we release Buddy Enterprise to use Outlook, because we take advantage of some Microsoft accounts that you don't have to create accounts on if you're logged in to an Outlook.com email.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the for Syndwire Buddy itself, wasn't it? I know you sell it for $147, but didn't you offer it for if
your guys had a $97 special for the entire month.
Right. Yeah, I've slept since then. I've totally forgotten. I think it was $97, and I shared that information before, and we'll share it again because there's still 5 days left in the month. So we'll.
Oh, and here's the thing: if somebody was going to do it between now and the end of the month is the time, because for people who own Syndwire Buddy, Buddy Enterprise itself, every account creator we come up with going forward, and we've already done some, right? But every account creator we have going forward is going to be added to Buddy Enterprise.
Oh, sweet! So we'll pay one time and get it over with.
And the upgrade for people who already own Syndwire Buddy, when we do our soft launch, is going to be $50.
And you're assuming about a month? Did you say?
I'm looking for the first week in May.
Oh, okay. So it's really right around the corner then.
Yeah, it's in pretty good shape. You know, things happen programming wise, and
sure.
And I'm hoping that's not the case. But Syndwire Buddy was originally created, and there's still work done on it by probably, one of the most experienced bot programmers out there. And I go in and I do maintenance, right? Yeah. But with Buddy Enterprise, and I come from a programming background, with Buddy Enterprise, I've taken a much more personal role in terms of figuring out what works best, how this is implemented, etc., and doing a lot of the coding myself. Yeah. And so I'm very excited about it. I have a client right now, knowing that Bradley is charging $175. I have a client who I'm doing 25 boards for at $125 a piece. Okay.
Nice.
And I've already got the program at a level that I can use it to do it for him. I haven't got it at a level that I can hand it over to you, but I wrote the code enough that I can use it to dramatically shorten my work cycle.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, if somebody turns around and creates one board, even one network of accounts, instead of spending $55 having it done, right? If they do one, if you're a Syndwire owner before that launch happens, buying the product would cost you less than buying one of those networks.
Yeah. It's remarkable. And the power is just, I mean, I'm already totally digging Syndwire anyway. It's just, I have used several different things. The ones that I don't like, I make a policy of not talking about them any more than I have to. And there were a couple of really big hiccups along the road where it was almost to the degree of like fraudulent disappearance / behavior. But now that I've found Syndwire, I spend a lot of time strategizing around this. I will definitely use your money site AB mentality You know what? It's even bigger than that. Guys, for those of you who are listening, whether you're listening live or whether you're listening after the fact, at least go read Jeff's PDF. It's really cool. If you're into SEO, you've got to at least be peripherally into the idea of automating some portion of it so that you're freed up to do the things that simply can't be automated. So you got nothing to lose. It's 35 pages of just really cool information. Only about half of it will make your brain hurt. The rest is the recap of the domain authority for the Web 2.0s as I remember it. So
you got it right. And listen, with the exception of what I've specifically disclosed on, I did not create these terms. It isn't original stuff. It is there are specific people credited. I mean, I've been doing business with Network Empire since 2009. For those of you that know what Kraken is, for a long time I maintained an unlimited Kraken subscription.
Yep.
I've seen every toy spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not an exaggeration on this stuff. And when it comes to SEO, I've bought more 55-gallon drums of snake oil than anybody I know.
Yeah, I'm right up there with you, Jeff. I mean, I fall for it a lot myself. But Syndwire looks to me to be the real deal. And so
it is.
Syndwire Buddy, part of it is really powerful stuff to me.
Even though Syndwire, and this is something that, that people need to recognize, even though, say, Syndwire has got rid of Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. Facebook still works with IFTTT. So you can use Syndwire to hit a property that Syndwire handles that'll turn around and trigger off and commit actions on Facebook.
Yeah.
So that you don't lose anything.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on. Maybe in another month or two after you've done your launch and you've begun to implement some more advanced strategies, which will certainly be the case. Maybe we could have you circle back around and share some more with our people about how you've done it.
Happy to do it, and thank you for the invitation. And folks, have a wonderful day, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm over here in Pattaya, Thailand, loving life.
Yeah, I bet you are. Jeff, thanks again. We really appreciate your time. It was incredibly helpful. And guys, the Hangout will go up right away because YouTube makes that happen, but I will compile the information you need to get these things, and I'll make sure that if they're chat room or Skype room appropriate, they'll be there. If they can be released into the description of the Hangout, they'll be there. You know how to hit me up. Everybody knows how to look up Doc on Skype, I think. And if you need to get in touch with Jeff, go through me and I will get you everything you need. We'll make sure that nothing's left to chance. Thanks again, Jeff. And thanks again, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks with a surprise guest. Bye.